Matua Winston Peters, Uncle Winnie to his friends, he was on this morning, Big Herald Now, talking about their conference over the weekend. Mr. Bridge just started off with a pretty generic question. What are your plans for the next year? What's your goal for 2026? I left this bit in because
it's Ryan Bridges.
Well, it's interesting how Ryan.
It's none of your business. It's none of the media's business what I do for Christmas, young man.
Yeah,
we'll be in Berlin by Christmas. I'll tell you that much.
He basically says that. I wanted to play this a little bit because it's interesting to hear what he says about Labour. Now, remember, the narrative that the coalition is putting out there is being picked up by some media sources. We want to make sure that we explain what the actual narrative should be, using little things like facts and stats.
What's your goal? Do you have a goal percentage-wise for the party at the next election?
Most definitely, but I'm not telling you.
Double figures, presumably?
Well, of course, and we're already there already. We're climbing all the time. But we put in a lot of base work in the off-election year. That's why the convention at number 2 was so successful, because it's an off year, and yet they were out in their thousands. We got over 1,000 people turn up to our public meeting.
Yeah, it was a big crowd.
I said free Werther's
yeah, we'll talk about policy in a second.
I was thinking, I wonder if when New Zealand First is setting up a conference location, does it have to have per capita the most ramps and the fewest number of stairs that any political party has for its conferences?
I would say the catering would be easy. It's just soup,
pre-chewed food, and disability soup. Ramps. Yeah. All right, there we go.
Stuart Nash was obviously there. He's former Labour. Some in the media you might have seen, not me, Winston, but some in the media have suggested, maybe this is a bridge between New Zealand First and Labour. Can you just clarify for us exactly what your position is on Labour?
Well, those sort of people who speculate those sorts of statements about him being a bridge should restrain themselves. They know nothing about politics or negotiations, and when they're talking about the most experienced party when it comes to negotiations, we don't do things like that there. We don't, like the rest, sign up to others. We're the only party that doesn't, and we've done it for 32 years. So, when they say that, they're defying 32 years of our history of always leaving it for the public to decide first what's happening.
Because a lot of people were worried, texting into my News Talk ZB show this morning, Mr. Peters, and they were angsty about the possibility of a New Zealand First Labour deal.
This is actually quite telling. It's actually quite telling, because what that says is even the supporters of the coalition, News Talk ZB listeners, and they would be en masse, not every single one of them, don't trust Winston. That's what that says. So the New Zealand public doesn't trust Winston. They know that he will feather his nest. Is that the right thing? They know that he will go for the baubles office, and they know that he's not to be trusted when it comes to his own personal narrative around what he's going to do. But he responds.
Can you just clarify exactly what your position is with Labour?
Look, the Labour Party is in serious trouble because they stand for nothing at the moment. In the last campaign, what did Hipkins do when he campaigned? He ate sausage rolls and did nothing, and yet he's on the 6 o'clock news night after night. And then he had the bonfire after he took over as the Prime Minister of their policies, which was a admission that their policies were hopeless. They haven't got any policies. No, we're campaigning to maximise the New Zealand First vote for a country that needs serious recovery with the right economic and social plan, and we believe we've got it.
And at some stage in this, you know what else Winston said? And he went, and he still doesn't know what a woman is. So I think we need to have a look very carefully, because he just said, look at them, look at where they're at. Look at where they're at. I mean, like this Labour, I mean, look at them. Where are they at? Well, we don't take polling too seriously midway through a cycle. However, at the minute, where they're at is the highest polling party up here. So Winston's narrative is, isn't it terrible what they've sunk to? There's a couple of good people in there, but look, isn't it just ridiculous where Labour is? Okay, well, let's have a look. Oh, it's funny, eh? Because Courier poll today has them as the biggest party. So wondering what Mr. Peters is saying about. Now, I'll say it again. We don't take these polls too seriously. 12 months from now, we'll take them more seriously. Of course, but What is he saying? Okay, so if we're looking at Labor and they're terrible, obviously that means National is more than terrible. Greens are out the back door, but then New Zealand First is even worse off. So I just want to make it clear for us that the narrative that he's painting, obviously, because of who he is and what he's doing, is not correct. Because as we speak right now, with just a snapshot of today, they're not doing too bad in the eyes of the public. And in fact, we did that story last week. Sorry, Joey. That story last week where 17 out of the 20 key markers, the left was leading in. Do you know something real interesting about that, Chewie? Just a little side note. Those markers, those key markers, Labor had the most. They led in the most categories. National led in some. The Greens led in some. Te Pāti Māori led in some. Guess who didn't? New Zealand First or ACT.
ACT and New Zealand First. Nobody believes that they're capable of handling any of those things.
At
if
no
you bring
point.
that graph up again,
Yep.
it's something that Winston slurred out there is that New Zealand First are on the up and up. They're always going up. Can we see that graph there, that little purple, is it the purple line or is it the...
They would be...
Good colourway, tax dodgers, onion.
Yeah, I think
Purple? Yeah, purple.
Probably that one there.
Always on the up and up.
Yeah.
And what's the percentage of change?
For New Zealand First,
New Zealand First.
Up 0.3.
Always on the up and up.
Bruh. There's some other comments I want to play from Mr. Peters on that interview as well, but it might be a good point now to actually jump across to Bernard Hickey, because Bernard Hickey on the Kaka with Bernard Hickey, and I typically watch that or listen to that on YouTube. You can check it out there for yourself as well. He had a bit of a chat this morning. There's a couple of clips I want to play here about the policies of New Zealand First, because obviously these conversations with Winston now are coming out of the party conference over the weekend.
He has said when New Zealand First wanted to reduce migration, although he didn't give specifics on that. He only talked about having a smart migration policy. Secondly, he wanted to have a new Kiwi values statement that new migrants would have to swear to, a so-called...
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of New Zealand. That's what he wants for some reason.
Flag saluting values statement. And it was part of a range of comments in the speech, essentially attacking what Winston Peters called woke values, woke politicians, woke policies. In fact, the word woke was used by Winston Peters 19 times in his speech. And what he's doing here is appealing to...
Do you think he might be trying to hit a certain base there, Chewie? Using the word woke 19 times? Like if you were trying to appeal to the Hamburglar, you'd use the word McDonald's 21 times. You know what I'm saying? So who do you think he's trying to pitch to using the word woke, which I think Bernard's about to go on for, but have you got any thoughts first?
Yeah, it's that catchphrase. Like he's slow on catching up with this. That people have really turned off on this phrase now, that it is something that an old out of touch person would say, that everything I hate is woke. And it's the same as all of the other things, calling people snowflakes, calling people triggered. Somebody has told him that a word is trending, and he's just burned that into his brain. The other thing that springs to mind here is this is Winston, who is really nailing his flag to a particular pole here. Mm-hmm. This isn't someone that is looking to stand on the balance of power. He is quite happy to not work with Labor. He is burning a fuck ton of bridges right now because he knows that they're going to rule him out again. So his chances to only be there in that populist, nationalist space, and that is going to clash with National, that's going to clash with ACT. But he knows he's got no hope of being in the left bloc.
Yeah. Well, Bernard, I think, does go on to talk about who Winston is speaking to as well.
By Winston Peters 19 times in his speech. And what he's doing here is appealing to a group of voters, quite a small group actually, who have particular views on issues around the treaty, around road cones, around cycle lanes, around vaccinations, around mandates, that got a lot of traction and a lot of attention in 2021 2021 and 2022 when we had the vaccinations and mandates for COVID, and a whole bunch of people started believing that vaccinations were not just ineffective but dangerous, and that the mandates put in place by the government to encourage vaccinations were bad. A whole bunch of other allegations and views fueled by discussion on social media. And that led to, through 2023, the formation of a whole bunch of small parties around people who had won a bit of a following for themselves during COVID and were against the Labor government's policies and against the Labor government and against a whole bunch of things, particularly against this idea of woke, which they believed was, taking the country away from them, and they wanted to take the country back. So
I was doing this research today, and I'll show you. Bernard reminded me of all those small parties, and purely by chance, right? Purely by chance today, I came across this site from the last election. And I thought, I'll show this because we forget the parties that were there. I mean, Animal Justice Party, Aotearoa Legalised Cannabis Party, that's not really part of that, anti-mandate thing. But check it out. Democracy New Zealand, Freedoms New Zealand, the Leighton Baker Party, New Zealand First. I haven't heard much of them, but they're an anti-conspiracy. They're a conspiracy. The New Conservatives, the New Nation Party, New Zealand Loyal, New Zealand. You see what I'm saying? This is last election. And the Women's Right Party, because of course they want to check everyone's private parts. But by chance I came across that website today, and then when Bernard said that, I was like, oh, because there's a lot, man. Last time around, there was a lot of those parties basically trying to come off the back of when, people like Chantal Baker had 100,000 followers because of that. And then since then, nothing. It's like they've had their one hit. They've done their one musical hit. It made it to number 3 in the charts. And so they've gone all in and they've had no success since. I mean, do we ever hear words like her anymore, or like Counterspin Media? Do we hear about those guys anymore? We just don't. They've shot their whatever. They've done their turn, and they've stayed in that area, and it's gone away. So if you're pitching to that people now, I don't know if it's going to work for you at the next election.
I think they have quite a large online presence. They're a very noisy group, but I think when you talk to people that used to be in that space, and I'm talking about someone that I know that I had not spoken to for quite a few years, because they were very, very anti-vax.
Yeah.
Militantly anti-vax. Absolutely blew up their career anti-vax. So she's reintegrating into society now.
Oh, okay.
And
found the truth, kind of turned away from those feelings? Doesn't matter either way for me. I'm just wondering.
Very sheepishly coming back to her friend circle. And,
welcome.
And I think
welcome.
I think that is what people's experience is going to be, because the sky didn't fall, and also they didn't win. So now, we haven't seen mass casualties from everyone getting the jab, but the black goo coming out of our eyes and all of that sort of stuff. So now they have to have a reality check. And I think it is the people that are watching their circle decrease and decrease and decrease. People just fall off, and they're having to take stock. And I think the crowd that Winston is talking to, I mean, he should be used to this. His voting base is ever diminishing through natural attrition. But this is also, he has pitched at the cooker crowd that will conveniently forget that Winston was very, very much pro-mandate.
Yeah. And I think this is going to be a really important series of questions for the elected officials, especially the leaders next time around, is to go through COVID times and see what they did and didn't vote for. I mean, obviously Winston wasn't there in 2020, but 2017 at the end coming into COVID, he was there. He was around. The politicians, the leaders of National were there. Yep.
I'm going to manifest this, that New Zealand First is out next election.
It's hard to count them out, but I hear you. Go for it.
I know, but like they always under and over poll, don't they? Like when they're out, they're always under the threshold. Now, New Zealand First doesn't win electorates. They don't win seats. They get the threshold. Te Pāti
They have
Māori
one
doesn't
seat.
have that.
But yeah,
Well, they have, but not this time round.
yeah.
Te Pāti Māori win electorate seats. They're not worried about the threshold. They'll be in Parliament anyway.
Yeah.
But New Zealand First needs that party vote. And so when they're out, they're all the way out. They're under 2%. And then when they're in, they always poll up around 8 or 9, but they never get that many.
Yeah, true. It'd be interesting to have a look at some polls from the last cycle, like midway through the last cycle, like when they've been in, what they've been polling midway versus their end result. That would be an interesting bit of research.
And they're in this position now where they're going to start campaigning, and they're going to start campaigning on we're part of the government and we either had this massive impact or we're the ones steering the ship sort of thing. But then that brings in all sorts of conversations about, like, well, there's still trans people around. Where are the camps?
And there's a third thing. There's a third thing they could do. They could say we're not part of the government. We're pushing back against them. They could treat all of them like bitumen and throw them under the bus. Because when I say it won't work for them, I'm not suggesting they won't get in. Winston is like the phoenix, right? He always seems to hang around. What I'm saying is I don't think that this pitch, the pitch to the conspiracy theorists that got him there last time, will get him there this time. I mean, they'll still be out there and they'll still be... Exactly. So then he has to decide, have I got 4.5% of, the Blue Rinse Brigade, so I need a 1% more. So really, does all his messaging come down to 1% of people because he knows he's got 4.5%. I'm just making up numbers, by the way, but you know what I mean. He knows he's got that Blue Rinse Brigade that aren't going anywhere no matter what. So actually he's going to tailor all of his stuff to the 1% that might be the conspiracy theorists, or it might be the racists, or, it might be the anti-immigrant, whatever it is. Is that what he's going to do? Obviously the clap. Should we play another one?
And we've seen that. Like, I watched a few clips of his speech. He is hitting all the greatest hits.
Yeah.
People who don't respect our flag and come here. And Shane Jones is talking about people called Singh and Patel. It's just, he's singing all the hits.
All right, this next clip it's only a minute, but this is the whole thing about ruling out Labour. He's so cantankerous as well. The thing that has been appealing about Winston in the past is when he plays the political game. And I've fessed up. I've said he's fun to interview, but it's now turned from kind of this jabbing into cantankerous old man yelling at the clouds. Like, I've already said what it's going to be. I've got to say what it's going to be. You know what I mean? It doesn't look fun anymore for a journalist. And maybe it should never be fun, but I'm just being honest. Sometimes having a scrap on air is a bit of fun, and he always walks away laughing. Now it just sounds like old man getting too old, just bitching at the sky.
But can you see why, from a voter's perspective, you're coming on here this morning and saying Labor is this, Labor is that, they're woke, they've lost their way, they don't know who they are as a party, but then at the same time not ruling them out?
Look, I've ruled Hipkins out a long time ago. How long does it take you guys to work it out?
But
Hipkins is different from Labour, though, Mr. Peters, and Ryan does point that out.
only Hipkins.
I said that in 23, 24, 25. Do I have to go and put it on my grave?
Hey, you're a long way off that.
I think he might have just admitted. He might have just admitted that they've bought a plot for him. I mean, maybe they know where he's going to be buried. I don't know. Probably somewhere in Shane Jones's backyard.
Winston, but just
Not a very good analogy, is it?
just so people know, it's not a no to Labor. It's a no to Hipkins. If they change leader, it's a possibility.
No, look, have a look at the Labor Party. Look where they are at the moment. It's very sad, actually. There's some good people there, but there's so many new there that don't know anything about business, don't know anything about life, don't know anything about...
I'd like to also remind us what Winston Peters has done in his career, because he's about to bitch at Labor for basically never having a real job. It's like, pot kettle black a little bit perhaps there, sir. Maybe you had a job in the early 1970s. That was more than 50 years ago.
Oh, tunnelling through an Australian mountain, wasn't it? Or was he a lawyer?
Yeah, don't know anything about business, don't know anything about life, don't know anything about... how shall I say it, the ordinary Kiwi. They have been almost on the taxpayers' tip since the day they left school. They've never had a real job.
Oh my!
Someone
On the
who's been
taxpayer's teat.
for
Is
50
it
years.
Winston?
For 50 years.
Longer than I have been alive, you have been on the taxpayer's tit. You're not nursing. You are a tick.
Bob, how can you govern with people like that? And I don't know why I'm even answering this question. I came on to talk about an exciting party
Yes,
with this convention called New Zealand First, and you've gone, just like all your colleagues, straight to talk about some failed party.
Some failed party. I mean, the one thing he does do is he swings for the fences, eh? Be interesting to see who will be the failed parties at the next election. And like I said the other day, I don't think I'm going to be doing much predicting. My predictions the last 3 or 4 elections, both locally and nationally, have been pretty piss poor. I don't think I'm going to go back there.
Okay, I'm going to manifest something else. This
Yep,
is
go
a
on then.
Simpsons deep cut, like all of my humour goes back to eventually. Okay, you know that film festival where Hans Moleman gets hit in the groin with a football?
Yep. And that wins an award, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah, Homer has to make up his mind between a really heartfelt documentary about alcoholism or Hans Moleman getting hit in the groin with a football. I just want Winston Peters to get hit in the groin with a football. That's it. Like, just exactly as it is on The Simpsons, but with Winston. I'm going to manifest that.
I have an apology to make to Mr. Peters. He hasn't been on the public tit for 50 years. It's more like 45, so it's got to be fair that we're accurate here. Here's Mr. Peters as, oh, come on, Wiki. He jumped all over. There it is there. 1975 to 1981. And then he missed out. And then from 84, 87, 1993, 93, 96, 96, 99, 02, 05, got kicked out.
I actually thought
11,
he was
14,
in Labour
15.
for a bit.
No, New
Is
Zealand
that
first.
incorrect?
I'm national, yeah.
Okay.
And that was when MMP came in around that one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you can see of the last 46 years, he's been on the tit for, well, actually, he would have been on the tit up here when he got kicked out because he'd been in there for long enough. So there's only really been a 3-year gap since 1979 that he hasn't been on the public tit. So come on, Ryan. Come on, people with access. When he says that, excuse me, Mr. Peters, how long have you been drawing a salary from the public coffers? How long is that?
Oh, how much did he pay for his education? Like, that's something that's been taken away from New Zealanders as well, hasn't it? By governments that he's been part of and by parties that he's been part of. So, look, if he wants to talk about common sense and life experience and that sort of thing, his life experience is irrelevant. He hasn't lived a life where his experience is relevant or appropriate. He doesn't know how things work now. Remember that test, Pat? Can he open a PDF on his phone? We have no proof. If you can't open a PDF on your phone, you can't do a government.
I'm trying to think out loud. The name of the New Zealand First #2 military man that we kind of rate as a military man.
Oh, Ron Mark.
Ron Marks. Ron Marks, I think that's what the K is. Because I'm just going to do one other thing. Ron Mark, there he is. Because I'm just going to show you one other clip. I'm just double checking something here. No, okay, he's always been there. So the other conversation that happened over the weekend, we're not going to play the video because we don't need to. It's from sort of the weekend. Is there's a part of the conference. Stuart Nash got up and had a speechy speech. And then the media wanted to talk to him about his speechy speech. And then, of course, the question is he going to be a part of New Zealand First? And someone raised a question, and I think it's a really interesting question, is New Zealand First really just going to be a place that all the ex-MPs from other parties turn up? I mean, that's why I looked up Ron Mark. Ron Mark was only New Zealand First. He's not one of them. But Shane Jones, Labour, Nash, Labour, Peters, National. Like, you think about the top people, like the top 1, 2, 3 on a list that would be. They're all basically rejects or converts from other parties. It's important to remember as well, if you're flashing around Nash as someone you want to be involved with, Stuart Nash was sacked from cabinet after disclosing confidential information from a cabinet meeting to 2 businessmen both former donors. Leaked email to Troy Bowker and Greg Loveridge. Nash wrote some stuff. The email detailed cabinet decisions and noted Nash's personal disagreements with cabinet colleagues and the position they took. I noted that Andrew Little was keen on an arbitration model of rent relief and that Nash had got Parker across the line on the 50-50 proposal, end quote. It notes the support of another part of the policy proposed as being backed by Ministers Winston Peters and Shane Jones. So as a Labour Party minister, he was pushing a narrative of the opposition. The cabinet manual, yada, yada, yada. Here's the bit. This is the most serious bit, I think. Bowker had donated $10,000 to Nash for his 2020 campaign. Loveridge had donated $5,000. So it's a literal appearance of a pay for play. Now, if you're going to pull that guy into your party, what does that say about your party? Someone who has, and I'm going to use the word appear because I'm going to be a tiny bit careful legally, but someone who has appeared to run a pay-for-play scheme that if you donate to me, I'll give you secret information from cabinet. That's at least what it appears like. If it's not that, I will withdraw and apologise. But if you give me a big chunk of money and then I give you information from the cabinet table, that's certainly what it looks like. And to even consider that person being dragged into any party, you've got to question the party pretty heavily, Chewie.
Yeah, absolutely. I did see this. Mark says, oh, look, it was 2 years ago. Move on. Nash on RNZ today. Look, that's something to hold something to, eh? It was 2 years ago. Let's not talk about it anymore. If every government party could remember that, that'd be great. Look, if we're talking about New Zealand First potentially hoovering up rejects from other parties and morally questionable people, there was another one announced.
Oh, yeah. I meant to mention her as well.
Yeah, so she was a national candidate, national MP, who fully went COVID conspiracy to the point where they kicked her out.
Yeah.
So she's found a new home, welcomed with open arms into New Zealand First. So that could be having failures.
But that could be Peters playing that game of I want those conspiracy theorists vote, and if I get this person in, who knows, she might end up number 9 on the list and not get in. But you know, if this is going to help me get him across the line, then because I think it's. I don't know Winston Peters personally, but I have had a lot of dealings with him and I've interviewed him numerous times. He doesn't come across as the kind of person, never has, that believes any of that bullshit. Like, I don't believe it's his natural position, like to believe that conspiracy stuff. To me, it comes across, and it's just my personal opinion, that it comes out as, it is mercenary. It is what he needs to do to get the baubles of office, to get back into power. And then unfortunately you get the most feckless leader in Prime Minister Christopher Luxon we've ever had. That the other thing that happens in that Kaka interview, you should go and watch it, everybody, it's not very long, is he talks about the amount of power that New Zealand First wields for the amount of vote they got, 6.02%, I think it was, of the vote, and the number of policies that they've managed to get through. I mean, you know, it's pretty good. It's pretty fair, I should say, to point all that straight at Luxon going, bro, you got done like a dog's dinner. And like, people are talking about rolling Luxon before Christmas. That's fairly common going around at the moment. If that does happen, it would be interesting to see what would happen with negotiations with those two parties after the election. Let's say it's the same position. I mean, I know we all hope it's not, but let's say it's the same position, but you've got Erica Stanford, Nicola Willis, Chris Bishop, one of those guys as the leader. I wonder what will happen with New Zealand First then. Wonder what will happen with ACT then, when they don't have the negotiator in charge, just like a regular person. I wonder if it'll be far worse. I don't think it could be.
Hey, Pat.
Hey, Chewie.
How good our Discord community is?
Oh, we done quick already. Yeah, go. Credit to, come on, got to give credit.
That is a good point. That is from Cyber Goblin. Nice. So quick on the trigger in Discord. Thank you. That has made my night. That will now be added to my election 2026 folder.